Tonight we're opening a file that, according to every official record, shouldn't even exist.
That's right. We're looking at a story that, if our sources are correct, involves a major international airline, a completely routine flight, and an act of erasure so total it suggests reality itself can be well edited.
And that's the mission for this deep dive. We're stepping into the role of investigators here, piecing together the evidence from a phantom journey.
A flight that we're told was systematically wiped from history.
Yeah.
We're talking about Air India Flight 447.
Okay, let's just lay out the core claims right away. Because they're staggering, and they demand a really serious approach.
Absolutely. This isn't just about a plane that went missing.
No. We are talking about a flight attendant who vanished, literally vanished, at 35,000 feet. We're talking about impossible sightings of massive shifting objects outside the plane.
Things that seem to defy, three-dimensional physics.
Exactly. And then, maybe the most terrifying part, the aftermath.
The cover-up. A coordinated global effort, not just to hide what happened, but to actually delete the flight from existence. And to erase it from the memories of everyone on board.
So this isn't a story about an accident or a technical problem. This feels like an active, almost hostile manipulation of reality.
By forces that apparently the authorities know about and are terrified of.
So for you, listening, let's define the threat we're investigating. This is about a confirmed incursion into our reality, and a system that is designed to pretend it never happened. We're digging into the forbidden file of a non-existent flight.
And trying to find the ghost of a flight attendant named Priya Kapoor.
And like so many of these cases, the absolute horror of it begins in the most mundane, predictable place imaginable.
The routine. The absolute clockwork precision of a long-haul flight.
Which is the entire foundation of our sense of safety in the air, right? The schedule, the checklist, the predictability.
And all of that was about to be completely shattered. So the date was March 15th, 2019. The flight is designated Air India 447.
It's a standard red-eye, Mumbai to London Heathrow.
And the crew is top-notch. Captain Rajesh Sharma, he's a 12-year veteran. He knows this route like the back of his hand. Just the definition of professional.
247 passengers, 18 crew members, and the flight log, everything is just nominal.
That's the word, isn't it? Nominal. Every system green, every check passed. The plane is just humming along, rhythmic, almost hypnotic, as our source material puts it.
It's the perfect picture of safety, the perfect setup for the rupture.
And we need to focus on the person who was at the center of that rupture, the impossible witness.
Priya Kapoor.
Senior flight attendant, 15 years of experience. She's a professional. She knows this aircraft, this environment, inside and out.
The time is exactly 2:34 a.m. It's the dead of night. The plane is at cruising altitude, stable, quiet. Everyone's asleep.
She's in the rear galley, just doing her normal checks, probably getting ready for the breakfast service that's still hours away.
So she's isolated, but she feels completely safe. She's in a metal tube designed for one purpose: to protect her from the absolute hostility of the environment just inches away outside the fuselage.
And that is exactly where the betrayal begins, where the physics of her environment start to warp.
The first anomaly isn't an alarm. It's not a sound. It's the temperature.
A sudden, bone-chilling cold just sweeps through the galley instantly.
And we have to stop here and stress just how impossible this is.
Yeah, you're at 35,000 feet. The cabin is a sealed, pressurized, climate-controlled system.
For the temperature to drop so fast and so severely that she could see her own breath, that suggests a catastrophic failure.
It's not a normal one. It's not a leak. It's like the heat energy was just sucked out of that specific area, a localized thermodynamic violation.
It defies the laws of a closed system.
So she's trying to rationalize it. She thinks, okay, maybe it's a weird power surge or a glitch in the ventilation.
Right, especially when the galley lights flicker once, then twice, and then they stabilize again.
A temporary disruption, easy to dismiss.
But the cold doesn't go away. It stays. And that feeling of wrongness starts to deepen.
And that's when the next warning comes. Not environmental, but auditory.
This is where it gets really strange.
The source material describes a sound that was, and this is the word they use, organic.
Not the groaning of the airframe, not electrical feedback. It's a low, resonant hum.
Right, organic. As if it wasn't coming from the plane's machinery at all. It was coming from something outside, something that had gotten very, very close.
And this hum, it wasn't just something she heard with her ears. It vibrated through the metal wall.
And through her, the report says it made her teeth ache. It made her skin crawl.
That's a sensory violation. It suggests a frequency that's that's not meant for human perception. It's bypassing the structure and attacking the nervous system directly.
This is not turbulence, this is an invasion.
So the sound is getting worse, and she knows she has to do something. She leaves the galley.
She starts walking forward through the dark cabin, and she can see the passengers. They're all still asleep. Everything looks normal.
But it doesn't feel normal. She says she feels this profound sense of dread, that something is just deeply, fundamentally wrong.
Her goal is the flight deck. She needs to tell Captain Sharma what's happening. The cold, the hunger.
But she never gets there.
No, because before she reaches the cockpit door, she sees it. The visual proof.
A faint, pulsating blue light.
Coming from outside the windows on the left side of the aircraft.
But it's not a normal light, like from another plane. The source says it was coming from the sky itself. Like the atmosphere itself was glowing.
It wasn't a point of light, it was diffuse. Immense.
So she gets closer to a window to try and understand what she's seeing.
And that's the moment. That is the moment the breach occurs. Her entire understanding of reality just shatters.
She sees shapes floating alongside the plane.
And they are massive, huge, easily the size of the Boeing 777 she's on. And they're moving at the exact same speed in total silence.
We have to linger on this description because this is where it moves from a UFO sighting into something else entirely.
The report is so specific, it says they seem to exist in layers. She was seeing them as if through multiple dimensions at once.
Can you even imagine that? I mean, your brain is wired to process the world in 3 dimensions: length, width, depth.
And you're suddenly looking at an object that doesn't obey those rules. An object whose form shifts and warps, revealing, and this is the direct quote, geometries that her mind couldn't quite process.
That's a cognitive crisis. Your brain is trying to make sense of something that is mathematically impossible in our physical reality.
It's not just a weird shape. It's a shape that violates the very laws of space.
And their intent.
Yeah.
That was terrifyingly clear.
They weren't just passing by. The report says Priya had the chilling realization that they were watching the plane, watching it intently.
They're observers. They're studying it.
And then while she's frozen there, watching them watch the plane, one of them moves.
It accelerates towards the aircraft.
But not with thrust, not with any visible propulsion. The phrase used is impossible speed.
Which implies it just.
Yeah.
It was there, and then it was here. Instantaneous.
And the impact. This is the final, horrifying detail of the encounter.
There was no impact.
No, it was silent. No explosion, no jolt, no sound of tearing metal. It was as if the shape just merged with the airframe.
But at that exact moment, every single light on the plane went out.
Total darkness. A complete sensory void.
For 3 seconds.
And when the emergency systems kicked in and the lights came back on, Priya Dasgupta was gone.
Just gone.
Completely. Without a trace, no sign of a struggle, no broken window, just an empty space where she had been standing 3 seconds before.
Her disappearance was surgical. Instantaneous.
The rest of the crew, they notice she's missing almost immediately. You'd have a senior flight attendant, you'd expect to see her.
Of course. And Captain Sharma, he does what he's supposed to do. He follows procedure. He radios the nearest air traffic control, which is Cairo.
And he requests an emergency landing. He reports a possible medical emergency.
They land the plane safely. Physically, the aircraft is completely fine. Not a scratch on it.
But the trauma had already shifted. It was no longer physical. It was cognitive.
And this is where the surgical erasure begins. On the ground, the crew is questioned. Standard procedure after an emergency landing.
But the results of that questioning were absolutely chilling.
Every single member of that crew, Captain Sharma included,
They all said the same thing.
they had no memory of Priya Dasgupta.
And not just that they didn't remember her disappearing, they didn't remember her at all.
Think about that. They had no memory of her boarding the plane in Mumbai. No memory of her being part of their 18-person crew.
A senior attendant who they would have worked with for hours during prep and the initial service, just a complete void.
It's a collective, targeted amnesia.
Yeah.
Imposed on them in those 3 seconds of darkness.
And the physical evidence, the paperwork, it only made it worse.
Right, because even if you're erased from memory, you should still exist on paper.
But she didn't. The flight manifest. It should have listed 247 passengers and 18 crew.
The manifest they found listed 247 names total. When they did a head count on the ground, they found 17 crew and 246 passengers. The numbers were wrong, and her name wasn't on the list to begin with.
Her name, her very identity, had been retroactively pulled from the official record of the flight.
Her uniform wasn't in the crew lockers, her personal bag, her ID, nothing. Gone.
And when investigators showed photos of the real Priya Dasgupta to her supposed colleagues, people she'd flown with for years,
They denied ever seeing her before in their lives.
So this is the staggering implication. She wasn't just abducted, she was erased from memory, from the records, from the timeline of that flight.
An entity with the power to make a person non-existent within a specific window of time, while leaving everyone else perfectly, calmly forgetful.
But they made a mistake. Or maybe they couldn't erase everything.
There was one witness they couldn't immediately get to. One silent, objective witness.
The black box, the flight data recorder.
It's designed to survive anything, to record the absolute truth of what happens on a flight. And it recorded everything during that crucial window.
1 minute and 47 seconds, between 2:34 a.m. and 2:36 a.m.
And the audio from the cockpit voice recorder during that time, it's the single most disturbing piece of evidence in this entire case.
Because for that 1 minute and 47 seconds, it didn't record alarms or screams, it recorded voices.
Multiple voices, speaking a language that no expert on Earth could identify.
It wasn't Hindi, it wasn't English, it wasn't any known human language, living or dead.
And the acoustic analysis. This is what makes it physically impossible.
The experts who analyzed the waveform, they said the voices were coming from multiple points inside the cockpit, simultaneously.
Not overlapping, like people talking over each other, but occupying the exact same point in space at the exact same time.
Their conclusion was that the speakers were existing in the same physical location but on different planes of reality. Their voices were just bleeding through into our dimension.
So it's not a radio transmission, it's direct evidence of a dimensional incursion right there on the flight deck.
But the absolute peak of this, the most terrifying piece of testimony, comes from Captain Sharma himself.
This is from the statement he gave right after landing, before his memory was wiped clean. He had this moment of pure conscious awareness of what he was experiencing.
He was asked to describe the sound, and his answer wasn't what you'd expect from a pilot.
No, he described it, and this is his exact quote, as the sound of mathematics becoming conscious, the sound of dimensions colliding.
Just let that sink in. The sound of mathematics becoming conscious.
That's not the description of someone hallucinating. That's the description of someone having a profound intellectual encounter with the fundamental structure of the universe.
It suggests the entities weren't biological, they were something else. The architecture of reality itself made audible.
And the black box confirms the surgical nature of this event.
Yes, the impossible voices, that sound, it just abruptly cuts out.
Followed by 3 seconds of perfect total silence.
The exact duration of the power outage. The exact window when Priya vanished.
And when the audio comes back on, it's Captain Sharma's voice.
Perfectly calm, professional, composed, requesting that emergency landing in Cairo for a medical situation.
The anomalous event was just snipped out of the recording and out of his memory, leaving a perfectly clean, plausible timeline for investigators to find.
That 3-second gap was the operation. The moment reality was rewritten.
The cover-up on the ground was immediate, and its scope and efficiency suggest a level of authority that is, frankly, terrifying.
This wasn't Air India trying to manage a PR crisis. This was something else entirely.
Within 48 hours of landing in Cairo, the suppression campaign was moving at full speed across international borders.
First to go was the only piece of hard evidence, the black box.
It wasn't taken by the Egyptian Aviation Authority or the Indian DGCA, which would be standard procedure.
No. It was confiscated by an unidentified government agency, that's the official line, which is code for a deep state black ops level intervention.
This was immediately classified as a global security threat, not an aviation incident.
The crew was slapped with an airtight gag order. They were told in no uncertain terms that their careers, their licenses, their freedom depended on their absolute silence.
Meanwhile, a different strategy was used for the passengers. A narrative was created.
And it was designed to sound just crazy enough that anyone who repeated it would be instantly dismissed.
They started getting visits, the infamous men in dark suits.
And the explanation these agents gave for the cold, the hun, the overwhelming feeling of dread
Was a shared hallucination.
caused by, of all things, contaminated cabin air.
It's almost insulting. It's so absurd. But it's a brilliant piece of disinformation.
And they didn't just tell them this, they backed it up. They gave the passengers official medical documents, fake diagnoses, to validate the lie. They retroactively created a paper trail to support the fiction.
Think about the power required to do that, to falsify medical records across multiple nationalities and have them be accepted.
And they were warned. speak out against this official, medically proven story, and there would be severe consequences.
And we know there were, because one person didn't stay silent.
A journalist named Michael Chen. He was on the flight, he knew what he experienced wasn't contaminated air, and he tried to publish the story.
The response was a showcase of the system's power. His article never saw the light of day. The newspaper servers were hacked.
All of his files, his drafts, his research notes, digitally shredded, erased.
And Michael Chen himself,
Yeah.
he just disappeared from public life. He was silenced, and he became a warning to every other passenger on that flight.
But the final act of this erasure is the most profound. Investigators, the ones who compiled our source file, they looked for the flight's basic data.
The kind of data that every single flight in the world generates. Flight numbers, departure logs, ATC communications.
And they found nothing.
There is no official record that Air India Flight 447 ever existed.
It's not just that the file is classified. The flight number was scrubbed from the international registry. The departure logs in Mumbai were wiped. The arrival records in Cairo, gone. It was a ghost.
It's a logistical nightmare to do that. It means a coordinated effort to alter the records of dozens of independent systems around the world.
But even with all that power, they couldn't erase everything. Scars remain.
Captain Rajesh Sharma is still flying today. He's a respected captain with a perfect record, and no memory at all of what happened in March 2019.
He's a living ghost of an event he can't remember. But the system that erased his memory couldn't perfectly patch his life story.
There's a gap in his employment records.
3 unexplained, unaccounted for days in March 2019. It's the physical proof on paper, the time it took them to rewrite his reality.
So you take all of this evidence together, the impossible cold, the organic hum, the layered geometries, the silent abduction, the mass memory wipe.
And that black box recording, the sound of mathematics becoming conscious.
It all points to one conclusion. This wasn't an event from our world. It was an incursion. And the cover-up was an attempt to patch the hole it left in our reality.
Which brings us to the theories. How do you even begin to explain this?
The first and most common in these paranormal circles is the dimensional rift theory.
This idea suggests that those entities Priya saw weren't aliens in the traditional sense. They were explorers, or maybe just inhabitants of another dimension.
And for a brief moment, a tier opened up between their reality and ours, with Flight 447 caught in the middle.
The cold, the hum, the visual warping, all just side effects of 2 different sets of physical laws overlapping.
In this theory, Priya Dasgupta was a specimen.
Right, a biological sample, taken for study, not out of malice necessarily, but with the cold, detached curiosity of a scientist collecting an insect.
And the cover-up then is about protecting humanity from that knowledge, from the ontological shock that would come from knowing that our reality is permeable.
Theory 2 tries to ground it a little more. It suggests an encounter with either extraterrestrials or some kind of top-secret, next-generation military craft.
So an ET abduction or a military experiment gone wrong. And the government steps in with some kind of advanced memory-wiping technology to cover its tracks.
It would explain the men in black, the coordinated suppression. It accounts for the power of the agencies involved.
But it doesn't really account for the most bizarre evidence.
No. How does military tech, even alien tech, create the sound of dimensions colliding? How does it retroactively delete a flight from global aviation records?
It feels like that theory is trying to fit an impossible event into a more comfortable but still inadequate box.
Which brings us to the third theory, the one that our source material presents as the most terrifying possibility.
This came from an anonymous email sent to a few paranormal investigators right before all this information was compiled, a single cryptic message.
Maybe the last whisper of truth that slipped through the net.
And the message contained just one horrifying sentence.
It said, "They're sparing the plane, the ones who took her, they're still there, still watching, still waiting for the next person to see them."
And that just changes everything.
It reframes the entire event. It's not over, it's ongoing.
It implies Flight 447 isn't gone. It's stuck somewhere in a dimensional fold, still flying, forever circling just outside our perception.
With a plane load of passengers and crew who have no idea anything is wrong. And with those entities still on board, still observing us through that thin veil, waiting.
Is Flight 447 still flying? I mean, that's the ultimate terror here, the idea of a ghost flight trapped in a bubble of rewritten reality with these things just watching from within it.
So what we've really uncovered here is an event that wasn't just a disappearance, it was a retroactive dilution from history.
And that implies a level of power that operates on a plane far beyond governments or military might. It's the power to edit reality itself.
The cover-up wasn't about hiding a secret technology. It was about patching a crack in the fabric of the universe. They were trying to protect the illusion that our reality is stable and absolute.
Which brings us back to that anonymous warning. They're still there, still watching, still waiting for the next person to see them.
If that's true, what does it mean for every other flight? Every routine trip you might take, humming along at 35,000 feet?
It forces you to consider this horrifying idea that the reality we take for granted, the physics we rely on, might just be a very thin barrier.
And you have to wonder, are there other unassigned flight numbers? Other quiet little gaps in the official records that mark incursions just like this one, that were successfully and completely scrubbed?
The next time you look at a departure board, remember that the system only shows you what it's been allowed to remember. The real truth might be hidden in the gaps. The flights that, officially, never took off.
We'll leave you with this final thought. That empty space between one flight number and the next on the registry, it might not be empty airspace. It might be where Flight 447 is still circling, waiting for the veil between worlds to flicker again.